Hi, welcome to Mums All Together. My name is Katie and I'm joined by the lovely Sam today. We're going to take you through a 15-minute ankle stability and balance challenge, really important for rebuilding postpartum, especially while our hormones are still adjusting and our ligaments can sometimes be a little lax. So come and join us. We're starting standing and we're going to start with a different foot position for each exercise. So first of all, we're just going to have our heels under our hips and our toes tracking forward. Find a nice bit of softness in the knees and again, hand on your breastbone. If you've watched any other videos, you know this is one of my favorite cues. So make sure that that breastbone is above or ever so slightly forward of your pubic bone and just take a little pelvic tilt and find out where it is that your hips want to sit. Just because we set ourselves up somewhere doesn't mean this is where we need to stay. So find that sweet spot that feels good. Ribs and hips staying nice and aligned. And we're going to use our breath as we balance. So we're going to take an inhale and float the heels off the floor. And then exhale and lower them down. And you'll know pretty straight away whether you've actually set your balance up level or not. If you've got your weight too far back, chances are you'll fall back. If you've got your weight too far forward, you might need to step forward. And when we're working with our balance, know that our balance is different every day. Some days we're more able to balance than others, depends on the amount of sleep we've had, what time of the month it is, and various other factors too. So our proprioceptors, which tell us where we are in space, are always firing. And sometimes we kind of set ourselves up a little bit wonky and we find a new normal. So we're just recentering ourselves and making sure that we really feel where we are in our bodies today. Last two. Good. Last one, we're going to hold these heels nice and high. And I want you to send your fingertips out in front of you. When your fingertips are out in front of you, it's even more important to take almost a micro hinge forward. Naturally, when we lift our arms, we throw our shoulders back. So we want to keep that weight up and forward. And we're just going to take a little bend and stretch here. Bending and stretching. If this feels too much with the heels lifted, feel free to take that bend and stretch with the heels flat on the floor. We're really focusing on the tracking of our ankles. So knees go over ankles and knees also go over toes, making sure that we're staying centered through the middle of the leg. So options are either keep this bend and stretch here, or see if you can take a little lift into the heels and take that bend and stretch just on top. Remember to breathe. I find it's easier to take my inhale as I bend. I get that little extra influx of air. And my exhale as I stretch. Last two. Last one. Good. Lower down through your heels and just let your arms relax for a second. We're going to replace ourselves into what we know as a first position. So it's a ballet first position. But don't feel like you're auditioning for the Royal Lodge. From here, heels are together, toes are out. And you don't want your feet to be that much wider than a fist. So we're going really narrow. So if I place a fist in between my big toes, it's not that much wider. So we're just working in a nice safe range. From here, we're going to start with a bend and a stretch. So find a little bend into the knees and a stretch. Now this time as you're bending and stretching, you're working in a little bit of external rotation. Because the legs are close together, I want you to find a wrap around for the thighs. And when we bend and stretch in what we call a ballet first position, we want to make sure that the torso stays on top of the hips. So if you're usually used to at the gym doing a squat, you might be tempted to go this way, but that will change the exercise entirely. So I want you to feel like you are a piece of bread in a toaster, sliding down and lifting up. That's it, Sam, lovely. And you'll find there's a little temptation to let go of that connection between the ribs and hips and the pubic bone in the nose. So as you go, you might start to do what we call a duck bum. So we don't want to see a duck bum. We want to try and stay as connected through the front line of the torso as possible. Last four. Very, very nice. Last three. Last two. Now on your last bend, we're going to hold this bend down. So hold this bend and think of actively pressing your thigh bones back. From here, the knees always track over the second and third toes. So if you need to bring yourself into more of a parallel position, that's fine. I'm going to take my arms forward. Feel free to keep them long or feel free to make them a little more balletic, whatever feels comfortable for you. And we're going to take a heel lift here, but we're going to try not to gain any height. So we're going to peel the heels off and we're going to lower the heels down. We're going to peel the heels off and lower them down. So imagine that the ceiling all of a sudden has become super low and you can't gain any height as you move through this action. And if your legs start to get a little bit shaky, welcome to the club. Last 4. Last 3. Last 2. Last one, hold these heels off if you can. Or if you need to find a balance aid here, find a wall, a bench top, a chair, a friendly member of your household, as long as they can stay still. And we're going to take a teeny tiny pulse here. Find a little pulse. Find a little pulse. Find a little pulse. And it's just really small range. Keep thinking of pressing the thigh bones back and keep thinking of that connection through the front line of the torso. So try not to let the front line of the torso become longer than the line of the back. We're trying to keep them even so that the back and the front of the body are moving evenly to support the spine. Let's go last 2. Last one. Can you hold that balance for a little longer? Extra challenge is to lift the arms above the head. Now, if you're feeling really ninja, take the arms out to the side, lower them down, stretch into the legs, and lower down through those heels. Really nice. From here, we're going to come back to a parallel position. I'm going to try balancing on one leg, which sounds easy, but sometimes it's a little harder than you'd think. So take a breath in and a breath out. Maybe just relax your shoulders a little bit more, get a little bit more loosey-goosey through the upper body. Often we find when we're using the feet to balance, we take that tension through the upper body. So I want you to slide your weight to one side and just try a lift of one leg. Come back down, slide across, and lift the other leg. As much as you can, staying even across the hips, trying not to allow any twisting in the torso. And as we take ourselves to the side, being mindful not to condense in one side of the rib or hip or push the hips out. Last 2. Last one. Good, come all the way back. I'm just going to turn to the side so you can see me side lying, but lengthen your fingertips forward and keep your knees soft. From here, we're going to drive the elbow back and find rotation in the upper body, but keep the lower body static. Inhale, the elbow comes back, and exhale, draw it forward. Other side. Inhale, the elbow comes back. Exhale, slide it forward. And we're really aiming to find this rotation in the upper body now, so that the lower body stays still. If you're by a mirror or a window, as you rotate, it should look like you just have one leg. So we're not letting the hips open or close. We're trying to keep them nice and static as we breathe and move. Know again that naturally when you take your arms forward, you'll want to counterbalance by sending the shoulders back. So make sure that breastbone is above or slightly forward of that pubic bone. Now, if you'd like to add on, as we take the elbow back, we're going to add our heel lift once again. Elbow and heel. Inhale, slide forwards. So I'm going to use my inhale to lift and my exhale to lengthen forwards. Inhale to lift, exhale forwards. Try to take just as much time to lift as you do to lower. Inhale, lift, exhale, lower. Let's take 2 more. Inhale, lifting, exhale, lower, inhale, lift, exhale and lower. Really nice. Relax your arms, give yourself a little wiggle and a shake. Coming back into a first position, and you can choose whether it's narrow or whether it's a little bit more externally rotated here. If you're choosing a wider external rotation, just make sure that that rotation really comes from the top of the hip bones. So the rotation isn't from the knee, The knee still tracks over second and third toe, wherever your weight placement is. So from here, we're going to take a lift on a lengthened leg. So find an inhale, lift. Find an exhale, lower. Find an inhale, lift. Find an exhale and lower. What helps me to balance here is to actually think of engaging my glutes. So giving my glutes a good squeeze. A cue I often use for my clients is to think of holding a $100 bill between your butt cheeks. I tell you what, there's a squeeze there. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. I think I said $2 coin once. No one squeezed. So $100 bills it is. Last one, hold these heels up. And from here, I want you to test your balance with your arms. So we're going to lift one arm up. We're going to send that arm out to the side. And we're going to bring it all the way down. We're going to do the same with the other arm. Lift, out to the side, and lower. We're going to try it with both arms. Lift, out to the side, and lower. Now, if you'd like more of a challenge, single arm lift. As you open it, look to the side. It's much harder to balance. Woo. Lower. Lift, look to the side, and lower. And with the double arm, you can choose which side you look to, or you can keep looking straight on and lower down. Really, really nice. I'm going to turn back to face the side. Make sure you've got room in front of you and room behind you. And we're just going to take a little step forward and a little step back. So we're counterbalancing and shifting our weight from side to side. So just take a little step forwards, press, little step back. I'm keeping my heel off at the back, so it is like a mini lunge. So we step forwards and back. It's all very well doing things nice and controlled. We love that, love building the neural pathways and teaching our body where it needs to be in space. But we also need to be able to know where we are at speed when we're moving. Think of taking your body with the leg rather than keeping your body in the same place and moving the leg. So the weight goes into the front foot, and then it goes into the back foot. And the weight is spread evenly between both legs at the back. Definitely more weight in the front foot as you slide forward. Now you can start nice and small, making sure that your knees always track over your toes. Now if you'd like to make this a little more challenging, you can of course make it a bigger movement. Last 4. Last 3, last 2, last 1, and come back together. Let's try the other leg. So we're starting forward, just nice and small to start with, especially as this is the other leg. So your working leg on the last side is now your stabilizing leg. So it's probably a little bit more fatigued. Keep breathing. And then as you get a little bit more confident, you can make that a little bigger. If making it bigger isn't for you, keep it nice and small. Still doing wonderful work, just teaching that alignment and working on that weight change at speed. As we all know, looking after little 1s or 2s or 3s, we're often on our feet, we're often carrying them. We want to make sure that we're stable from the ground up. Let's take last 3, last 2, and last 1. Good. I'm going to stay facing the side while we take a little quad stretch. So I'm going to keep a tiny bit of softness in my supporting leg and pop one foot into my hand. Now this is a balance challenge in itself, but I want you to keep away from locking in that standing leg, just a little bit of softness behind the knee. If you need to hold on to something, please do. Thigh bone goes back, pubic bone scoops forward, and find the pressure that you need through this hand. So does your heel need to come closer into your glute? Or maybe do you need to find space between your heel and your glute? Keep scooping the pubic bone forward and driving the thigh bone back. And of course, keep breathing. It might feel nicer to put one arm out to the side, hold on to the ear, lift the arm to the ceiling. So be wherever it is that you need to be, or holding onto a wall or a bench. And when you're ready, give it a little wiggle and a shake. And we're going to do it to the other side. Picking up the foot, soften slightly through the standing leg, thigh bone back, pubic bone forward. If you are quite confident with your balance, fine to take both hands around the foot. And I want you to really think about where this stretch hits. Thigh bone back, pubic bone forwards. Do you need the heel closer to your glute, or do you need to find space between the heel and the glute? And find that sweet spot for you, where you feel the full stretch across the whole of the front of the thigh. Full breath in, full breath out, and relax. Hopefully now you feel super aware of where you are in space and able to carry on through your day nice and stable and functional. Let us know what you love, let us know what you'd like to see more of, and feel free to leave us a comment below. And we'll see you next time.